and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting.
Wednesday, March
brought to you by
13th at
Downtown Grand Rapids.
8:32. First order of business is approving the February 14th 2024 minutes. It was in our packets. Are there any comments or corrections? All right. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Next, Calder Plaza design funding.
Financials.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, how about if we do the financials first? From February 29th, 2024. Good morning.
Let's not forget about our money.
Well, that won't happen. but-
So yeah, your statements are in the packet as of February 29. Nothing too out of the ordinary or anything in the last month. Everything, all the invoices and stuff are pretty routine. At this point, we're 66% of the way through the year, and we are 73% through the non-tax fund budget and 63% through the local tax budget. So pretty much on par. Would just ask for approval for Statement D, your list of expenditures paid in February, unless there's any questions.
Are there any questions? All right. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. Motion carries. Let me skip to Calder Plaza design.
Can we do one other thing in
Oh,
between?
boy.
I just wanted to introduce and let everyone know that we do have a member joining us on phone. So Ryan Foley is our newest DDA board member. He's Chief Legal Officer at Acrisure. He couldn't be with us this morning because he's in London, but he is able to at least participate in discussion. He can't vote from the telephone. He's also following along online. So if you hear the voice over from the corner, now you know who it is. So Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Thanks for indulging these documents.
No, it's great to have you. Now can we finally?
Yes, sorry. Yes, now we
Be
can.
in person next month.
All right, now we do too. Calder Plaza, Mr. Miller.
Good morning. So in the packet, in the memo in the packet, it gives you a pretty good rundown of the history of this project beginning in 2017 when that master plan was created by the DDA and DGRI. These renderings that you see on the screen are the illustrations that resulted from the vision of that master plan. We have spent multiple years trying to do some attempts at chipping away at this master plan to implement, beginning in 2018 when we initially hired Progressive AE to do some of that work. We spent a couple years moving forward with a pavilion over here in the corner. Whoops. Did I do that? Oh, never mind. We got it. Right over here in the corner. And then the pandemic hit and we sort of paused some of that work and then re-engaged Progressive in about 2022 to look at some other options to connect the plaza better, which would be, stairs, ramps, things of that nature. And at that time, through our collaboration with the City of Grand Rapids, we began discussing their project, which is basically the entire deck removal. So the plaza deck that you stand on is sitting above the parking deck level, and they have a project, the city has a project planned that would remove that surface deck, re-waterproof the layers between the deck, and then put a new plaza deck on. And it became apparent that it was in everyone's best interest if we were doing our enhancement projects at the same time as that project. So we paused a bit our process and then put out an RFP for services to do that whole project. And that was done in the late 2023. We did some consultant interviews in early 24 and ended up hiring Progressive AE to do that work again. So they are engaged and the city is working through the contract with them. Because of the nature of the project and some of the things that we're not quite sure of as we go through the design process, this first phase of the project is really just the initial design portion. There'll be a design development portion and a construction drawing portion following about a 12 to 14 week process that we're working through at this initial stage. And as the memo states, there's a variety of interested parties in this project. So the DDA is being asked to fund $49,343 of that initial phase. The City of Grand Rapids Facilities Department is funding $70,490, and the City of Grand Rapids Mobile GR Department is funding $21,147. So that's a total of $140,980 in that initial phase. So what we're asking for today or recommending is that the DDA authorize a not to exceed amount of $49,343 for this initial stage of this project. I'm happy to take any questions.
Timing again?
Timing is the plan at this point is to start the construction of the full project in the spring of 2025. So we have this summer, and then the following summer it will be under construction.
Questions? Yes.
Is the scope of the plan just the surface deck or the ground level from Ottawa, or is it taking any of the other parts of the campus?
The deck itself is the entire deck from Ottawa to Monroe and then north to south.
This project is just that, I don't know what it's called, but the surface level.
Yeah.
Doesn't include anything that would be on the west side of the campus facing Monroe.
It likely does because the deck itself will be removed on that western edge, but we also have the plan really wants to figure out how we engage up to that level from Monroe. So in the original plan, there's obviously this grand stair that comes down to Monroe. We want to explore what that looks like as we start to replace that deck. But the real goal here from an accessibility standpoint is, and an access standpoint, is to make sure that we enhance some of the points of access to the overall plaza. And so that's going to happen both on the east and the west side. But I think that this also allows us to begin to look at the planters. And, you know, there's planters there obviously today. As the deck starts to get removed, we do have the ability to change the orientation of those planters. They don't have to fall exactly as they are today in this next iteration, because the whole thing is being basically removed. And so there's a great deal more flexibility in there to make some of these adjustments.
I would just encourage, and I'm not quite sure if it's in the scope of this conversation, it's at least adjacent to it, that western wall be looked at. It's set back so far. I wonder if there's a commercial opportunity to create something of commerce there, whether it's a food option or pop-up retail, or, I mean, it's such a wide space.
Yep.
And it's just a wall. So.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I know we did look at that as part of that is one of the recommendations of the
Yes.
master plan
Yep.
from
Right.
2018, but
Yep.
yeah, figuring out how to actually deploy it is still.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something that we can explore in the design phases of this. I think that the way we're approaching it at this point is that all these options from the original master plan are on the table. We just have to figure out which ones we want to prioritize in whatever phase we're building as part of the deck replacement. So I think that looking at some of that stuff is certainly on the table.
Yeah, as I recall, part of the process is the estimate
Yes.
of what we're trying to do. So it seems we probably will do phases, right?
Yes. And so I think that the priorities, the way I suspect the way that evolves as we're looking at this is that the priorities will be anything that we're doing on the deck as we're resurfacing that deck. So I think some of this stuff that's ancillary to that could come at a later phase. But certainly we want to be proactive in this partnership with the city when we're redoing some of this stuff, and it gives us some options to do some enhancements that we may not have been able to do previously.
Okay.
Well, my concern is the same western wall and that space, and as long as the top's being redesigned, I hope whatever's considered for the future would be taken into consideration, so it's not impossible because of whatever happens up on the deck.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
The west wall.
Exactly, the west wall. All right.
I'll
if-
move it.
Thank you.
Support.
All right, any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Next, we have Carol Wood to help describe Grand Action 2.0 project update. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Just wanted to give you a quick update on the work we're doing with the soccer stadium. We're currently in the middle of community engagement and finalizing that with 2 final meetings in advance of the Planning Commission meeting later this month. So what I'd like to do is just go through our, other way. High-level overview of the information that was presented during the open house. And this is a culmination of a lot of the conversations that took place in community over the last 2 months. This rendering you're seeing here is a design rendering that shows the corner of Pearl and Mount Vernon, where the Big Boy currently sits next to the YMCA, and the rendering of the stadium itself sitting on the dash lots, which the DDA owns, along with the YMCA parking lot. This, too, is a public-private partnership, just like the amphitheater project itself, and we continue to pursue that project alongside the other work of Grand Action in much the same way. Again, this project came as a result of the CSL study, the Destination Asset Study, that called out the investments that were needed over the next 10 years in our region to continue the momentum of our growth and quality of life. This project, too, will be a mixed-use development of sorts. It is in alignment with the Bridge South Plan, the West Side Corridor Improvement Plan, the U to the Zoo, and the River Equity Plan that currently exist. This will be new, accessible, and welcoming space for sports and community events. It is intended to be a multi-use facility, obviously soccer being the primary utilization, but a lot of opportunity to program it in many other ways. This will be a draw for soccer clubs from youth to professional, and also other sports as well. It's estimated that over $400 million of combined additional investment could be generated as a result of this project. So as many of our previous projects were catalysts, this too will be a catalyst in much the same way the convention center and the arena were. This project will make connections to adjacent neighborhoods. It is intended that there will be a lot of new housing development stimulated as a result of this investment. And as part of our community engagement, we've been listening to and addressing concerns related to the hot topics of parking, traffic, circulation, lighting, and sound. And I'll talk a brief bit about each of those. This facility is intended to see 8,500 with the capacity to grow to up to 11,000. With one soccer team, 17 professional matches would be played with other events throughout the year, and the goal would be to program it as much as possible throughout the year so that it doesn't go underutilized. And so just with one team, 164, 350 visitors per year. Obviously, we would like to see much more than that. The economic impact study that was conducted by CSL International indicated that just in Grand Rapids annual wage earnings alone, there would be $5.2 million driven by the stadium itself, with over $400 million of new economic impact and over 330 new jobs with operations and construction combined over the 30 years. So the community engagement efforts to date were multifaceted. It was a very inclusive and culturally competent process that we've been going through. There were 4 locations where we held focus groups with community: the Kuster Brauhaus, the Hispanic Center of West Michigan, the YMCA, the Center for Transformation, and at those, more than 60 attendees participated. We had multilingual translation available in 5 languages at those sites. And what you'll see in the next slide are some of the learnings we heard from the groups that participated. We also have met with the neighborhood and business associations. This is something that we do consistently with every project, and we received a lot of participation with over 180 attendees at those events combined. We also had engagement with special interest groups, so the YMCA, Grand Valley State University, the Convention Arena Authority Community Inclusion Group, among others. And like I said, we have 2 more meetings to go and hoping to secure some letters of support from a couple of the neighborhood business districts. So just a summary of the comments. They should come as no surprise. They're typical. Parking. How are parking concerns related to the neighborhood's patrons and employees going to be addressed? Traffic, how are existing streets going to manage the additional traffic and various modes of mobility and safety? Sound, what will the sound from the stadium be like and how will that be managed or mitigated to have less impact on the neighbors? And housing, if that is a priority in the city, how is housing going to be generated in this area? And operations, who will operate, own, maintain the facility and manage the team? Also, a lot of conversation about affordability of ticket options, just like the amphitheater. Tickets at all price points, so a lot of different options for individuals to participate. And then how can local and minority-owned businesses bid the work at the stadium and what opportunities will there be? Around parking concerns, we talked specifically about connectivity and the availability of parking. This is the surrounding network of infrastructure that Tim and his team work on every day, and this offers multiple options and modes of transportation for people to get to the site and home from the site. There is still continuing conversation with the Rapid and with the City of Grand Rapids on those modes of transportation to ensure that on game day that those special event protocols are in place and that we have smooth access to and from the stadium. Parking options, there are over 16,000 spaces within a 15-minute walk, and you can see that the majority of those spaces are to the east, not in the neighborhood. And we specifically did not count the metered city parking on the street and any on-street parking because we know that that parking is primarily used by the neighbors. And so the important thing to note here is that there is adequate parking available within a very short walking distance of the venue. And we've been having conversations about whether it's shuttles or other options for parking and dash lots, making those walks from those lots safe and accessible. Sound, the sound study that was conducted by our consultants indicates that in the upper left here, there were 2 points of study. This is the existing highway noise without a stadium. With the stadium activity, this is the greatest the sound would ever be at any point in time, most likely when a goal is scored. And so you can see that the noise levels are quite tightly contained to the site, and so there should be no concerns of leakage of that noise outside of certainly the commercial district and definitely not into the neighborhoods. Just a few updates quickly on where we're at. So we're continuing the design work. We're in the design development stage of planning. We're working on land assembly and also continuing to secure the public and private funding that's necessary to make this project a reality. In addition, we're continuing the site due diligence, which includes securing a special land use approval from the Planning Commission later this month, and also finalizing the last segments of that community engagement. We're continuing to update our website with new information every day and would welcome any questions that you might have.
Questions? Yes.
Are there any projected annual sort of carry and operations costs, maintenance costs on an annual basis?
So as part of the due diligence, the operator, the Convention Arena Authority, has done some projections in terms of operating pro formas. And, you know, at best it makes a little bit of money, but it certainly breaks even and doesn't lose money. I think the important thing to note is that the facility, the way it's projected, will be a sustainable asset and operation.
Yeah, the good news is I know the Sports Commission has already had several inquiries for ticketed use of the stadium other than the soccer team, so that's good news.
Yeah. Great question.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Without the DDA support, I think it makes it difficult for these projects to be reality. And so thank you for the continued support of the DDA and the work of Tim and Rick on a regular basis in meetings. Your support is definitely what makes these projects special.
And the county.
And the county. Well, Al, as a member, has always been at the table. Thanks.
All right. Next is the 25 budget preliminary discussion.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
No actions today, just laying out on the table some of the things we're looking at, and really just want to invite any questions or conversation that you all have ahead of the budget presentation that'll come to you next month. So just want to kind of set the stage for some of the stuff we're looking at. Quick reminder on schedule, so we'll be with you April 10, and hoping to get your recommendation to the City Commission, which would review it on May 7. It's kind of our standard schedule these days. Jumping into our revenues and starting with a quick look back. 5-year, our local tax increment actuals, we continue to see good steady growth, about 8% on average. And if you go back 10 years, we see the same thing. So even as we're accounting for the increases in gain share and some of the other expenses that have come in, our revenue has remained steady. And that is, I think, important because as we're looking at what we want to budget for, we're typically setting our budget increase around 2% annually. And so I think as we see some of the things that we want to be working on, we might want to consider bumping that up a little bit. James, can you hear me? Good. This is also a reminder that I'm not a graphic designer, so sorry for the rudimentary slides up there. Let me go then to the non-tax increment. This fund is obviously a little more volatile, primarily driven by parking revenue. You see a couple of these major spikes. These were from land sales that the DDA engaged in back in FY18 and FY20. And then if we zoom into the parking component, relatively stable growth, of course, pandemic aside, where FY21 and 22 were hit, but we continue to see increases. As discussions come up around rates for events and things like that, that will obviously impact our parking revenue. In addition, any future land sales that we would consider would also play into that. But generally, we continue to see strong, steady growth. And so as we're looking at FY25, a couple of ranges to keep in mind. Our local tax year-end fund balance, we're projecting between 3 and 4 million when the year wraps up. June 30 for non-tax, we think will be between 1 and 1.5 million. Again, I'll point out, we typically budget 2.5% for an increase. That would put our local tax around 10.3. If we did jump a little above that, say to 5%, that would be 10.6. Non-tax holds fairly steady right around $1 million. So overall, we'll probably be looking between $14-15 million of revenues to target our expenditures toward, which is good and healthy, but we also have a lot going on. So reminder on some of our committed obligations for FY25. Gain sharing, of course, comes right off the top. For this year and the next few years, it'll be 15%. That'll step up to 20% in 28, and then 25% in FY33. Our TIF reimbursements, a note on those. So these are our development support agreements for development projects in downtown. They continue to grow. This year will be quite a bit higher than years prior. But important to point out for 26 and 27, we'll start to see those come down. One important project we'll be paying off is Studio Park. And so that, the full increment that's generated from that will then come to the DDA. So kind of an important thing to highlight for our future years looking out. Debt service, DeVos Place will be paid off from the DDA's perspective this year yet. We do still carry payments for Ionia near the downtown market. Lion Square will begin payments on this year. And then the amphitheater, we're estimating around $1.5 million. So those will all be baked into our priority plan going forward. The amphitheater bond should be closing this year. I'm looking over at Tricia. So we'll have an actual, I think, for the budget.
We'll be pricing sometime in May.
Yeah, so, okay.
We won't have exact numbers before the budget's due, but 1.5 is
Seems safe based on what we've been looking at. And then, of course, beyond our obligations for those commitments, we have a lot of projects that we're still working on through GR Forward. So Riverfront trail build out remains a priority and will continue to be as we work through the spend down of the Greenway money. A lot of work still happening on public realm improvements, as well as street realignment, projects like the Hill and River Network, as well as Division Avenue, which is moving forward. Van Andel Arena Alley is a priority, also because we have a grant coming in for that, so we want to make sure that that project continues to move along. And then things like our wayfinding signage, our work with disability advocates, street furniture, and then of course our ongoing events that we want to continue to support. So no projects really to dive into today, but just wanted to give you a sense of the things we'll be balancing as we're looking at the priority plan that'll come to you next month, and really just wanted to invite discussion or questions that you all might have or information that might be useful ahead of next month.
Yes.
Couple of questions. One is, could we get a sort of long-term 5-year forecast of revenues and obligation projections as we're adding committed debt? You know, that's more than an annual commitment, so it's sort of.
You typically do 5 years, right?
Yeah, we'll vote on the annual budget, but we'll show you the 5-year projection. Okay. Yep, so that will come to you.
And is there a sunset on GR Forward?
It was built as a 10-year plan. So that was approved in December of 2015. So we are internally organizing around building out a scope of work for what an update would need to be this calendar year, with an expectation that we would start to work next year.
Anybody else? Questions? Looks good. All right. Executive Director report. You're still on.
I'll stay up
on the microphone.
We're moving quickly through this. I know everyone's still looking for that hour of sleep that we lost on Sunday, right? A couple things to highlight. In addition to the budget work that we're doing, World of Winter is officially over, so I think we can all expect some snow in the next couple weeks. We had great turnout. We'll have numbers to report out to you spring, summer as we start to plan for the year ahead. But overall, saw great traffic, a lot of good turnouts. In fact, our visitor activity from February saw a pretty good jump, as well as our employee activity. So these are our numbers from February against our 5-year average. So good things to look at. We'll give you more detail in the months ahead, but I just want to point that out. Our team, I should say our events and activation team, while the event is done, they're out de-installing everything right now. So there's another 2 to 3 weeks of work that goes on to it. So you might still see some activity out by the installations in the weeks ahead. Also wanted to show the new wayfinding signage for a parking system that is being installed. I should have done the photo credits here to Marion and Melvin, who snapped these. But again, another phase of the wayfinding system continues to roll out. So it's nice to see those installed. New benches are also out on Monroe Center. All 40 of the new ones are out, and we will have the ability to reconfigure them as we kind of learn how people are using them and where we might want to move them around, but they are all installed and being used. Work at Lion Square is continuing to progress and looking good. Across the river, you probably saw the articles about the excavation team uncovering remnants of the old mill over at the Public Museum. We had a presentation earlier in the week, and so this is the old flour mill here. If you see that arch right there, that's what is shown here. And then these are the old turbines. These are actually up farther north along the riverfront, but they also found elements of that. So needless to say, the excavation historian team is ecstatic. It's going to add some time and cost to the project, so we'll see where that all ends up. But another reminder that as we're digging on the riverfront, we never quite know what we're going to find.
No treasure surprises on Lion Square.
Not yet. But work is moving along. In addition, the Oxford Trail project, which is just at our end of our southwestern boundary, that planning initiative is still ongoing. There's a community meeting on Thursday over at the Southwest Bilingual Academy tomorrow night at 5 p.m. So check that out, and we'll continue to update you on progress. And then I think last slide, just to keep you up to date on our TIF plan amendment. City Commission set the public hearing for April 9. Notices are going out probably early next week. And then we'll have the hearing on the 9th and hope to have approval later in April. So we'll keep you updated on that. And I think that's all I had.
What letter are we up to?
We're at Q. Wait, R.
R.
Oh, geez. My alphabet's poor this morning. R. We made it to R.
All right. Any questions on Tim's report? All right. Next is public comment. Anyone in the public would like to step forward, now is your opportunity. Seeing none. How about board member comments to start our day?
Do we have a map of where the 16,000 parking places are within the 15-minute walk? I would love to have a copy of that.
Yeah, we do have that. We can
Thank
set it
you.
up. Is that,
Appreciate it.
zooming back to where Kara was.
There's like a list of the types of parking, but I get asked that question occasionally.
Is that? Yeah. Do it for you. So there's, I think this has public, private, and then some of the.
Oh,
GSC.
yeah, that, okay.
But yeah, we can.
In fact,
forward
you
it.
just send this to me,
Yep.
that'd be good.
No problem.
Yeah. And then the only other question was, so I was downtown for a few events on Saturday and made the mistake of coming in on Pearl Street instead of Bridge. And I'm just wondering if, as I'm out there having conversations with people, is there a way, or could we maybe plan in the future to have a place people could check in online to see what the best routes are? Because as we add more and more things, I mean, we are going to be jam-packed, and you could see it on Saturday when I think we had a volleyball game, a basketball game, we had a show, we had, I mean, it was literally, which is great.
Right.
It's
good.
It's awesome. But there's what?
Noodle Fest was happening.
Oh, Noodle Fest.
Yeah, Noodle Fest.
So I mean, I just wonder if there's a way to help people move, you know, like
Yep.
that, if they're getting jammed up.
Alternate transportation.
Or that, yeah.
It's a good point. I'm looking at Bill or anyone from the city if they have any.
We have mobile
resources they wanna-
Commission staff here, so I thought I'd give them a shout out.
Yeah, Jennifer, anything you want to highlight on that?
So I just want to make sure I understand.
Sorry to put you on the
You're
spot.
wanting a real-time traffic, like,
Yeah.
idea? Okay. I mean, that's certainly something we can explore. I know as far as real-time parking availability, we've been asked that, and we are exploring options for how to make that happen. But as far as real-time traffic availability, as it also relates to kind of the freeway traffic too, I mean, that's probably a bigger aspect.
It sounds
I'll
difficult.
keep that in the back of my mind.
It sounds difficult, I get it.
No, that's it's a good point, particularly with all the construction going on.
There's definitely a way right now to determine which roads are like there's a road closure map, so if you're trying to plan your trip around where there's construction sites, that can be done, but that complicates it too, I know.
I mean, this one was my own stupidity, but I sat on Pearl for, I mean, I'm here every day, right? So I sat on Pearl for a half hour when I could have buzzed up to Bridge and saved literally 25 minutes gone in on the Ottawa, because nobody uses the Ottawa entrance to the ramp.
Right.
Even after shows, everybody jams up in long lines to exit on Monroe when they could just go up to, I mean, so if there's just like common sense things where,
Just announced
you know,
Ottawa entrance.
in all humility.
Anybody else? All right, appreciate everyone coming today. We're adjourned.